Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to eRAD Tips and Tricks. I am Nancy Gillen, the Senior Application Specialist, and I am presenting the seventh in an ongoing series of tips and tricks for our customers. This presentation will last approximately 10 to 15 minutes and is being recorded. It will be posted on our website for future reference. I will turn the recording off for a 15-minute question and answer period following the slides. So we're going to talk about templates and macros. eRAD RIS with the MModal speech engine provides both templates and macros to provide efficiency and uniformity for the reading radiologist. The base template is built in MModal by the eRAD staff and is synced to the individual eRAD RIS accounts for our customers. There's a little confusion between macros and templates because they are interchangeable on other vendors' systems. In eRAD, we have both templates and macros. Macros are simply a blurb of text that can be inserted into any template. And templates are the entire report structure. The configuration for templates when building them from the admin side is under your template macro in admin, and it does default to your search rather than results. The search is more of what's in your system already. Who's it assigned to, what modality or what exam it's assigned to. Where we really want to be to create something from new is the results. So on the results, you can see that there are a few in here already. We'll see all those that have already been created on the list. And we're going to click the create from scratch button on the bottom here. So when that happens, we're going to create the new template. When you pull it up, the first thing that you're going to do is pull down the practice, and the base template is always the unknown work type or default work type. As you can see, those of you that are familiar with templates, when you pull this up, there's no fields in there to have any of the dictation actually go into, which would be definitely annoying for a radiologist. So I'm going to show you how to build a very simple template that you can build off of later on. Okay, so what we're going to do is add new fields just by clicking the new field button. When we do that, it's going to end up looking like this. So this one I've already created. It has multiple fields on it. It's pretty generic. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy it. This is kind of like our little cheat that we do. We copy it and we save it as a macro. I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but if you save this as a macro, you can now insert it into a template and not have to put all those fields into the template over and over and over again. So we're creating our base template. We're going to give it a name. If you just click in description, it gives it a description, and we're going to save it. Okay, so I named this base template macro. So when we go to create from scratch, we can go into the practice of citrus imaging, the base template of default work type. Now, I'm going to try to delete what's in here. And as you see, it's a little difficult. And that is because this lovely little button up here is on. And that's actually protecting my sections. So you're going to want to take that off temporarily so you can get rid of those sections. And I just cut and paste the new macro into here, and voila, you can now make changes and save it as something else. So that's a good way to start from the very beginning, or even though you people who have been around for a while, you have new radiologists coming in, at least you've got something to start out with. So then we're going to talk about the template field options. The first one is text. And text is a dictation field with the option of having some default text. So in this default, if I wanted to enter in here, and I believe on that template that I showed you that we created, it said none available for comparison. So what that does is when it's put into this default field, that verbiage will always be between the two brackets. The next option we have is here, and it's a data field. Okay, and the data field is actually pulling from custom fields or advanced fields that can be order, patient, study, or from digital form answers. The next option is required field. And what this does is if you have it checked as required, it gives you the front and the back bracket, which makes the field required before the radiologist can sign the report. If left unchecked, it only displays one bracket, making it an optional field. The quirky thing kind of within MModal is sometimes the commands don't work properly in the double brackets. So sometimes on the report body and the impression, it's sometimes better to just leave an open bracket because the radiologist is always going to dictate in those fields, and keep the two brackets for the things that they have to fill in before they can sign. So it's up to you, but if you find that the radiologist is having problem with commands, you might want to remove that back bracket. And then there's a pick list, and this gives us an option to choose values from a list when dictating. One thing here is on the radiologist screen, you have to remember that they have to have fields as part of their reading screen layout, or they don't see the pick list. So it's not inherent like it is on some of the systems where you go to that field and the pick is within there, right in that area. It's actually off to the side on a list format. Then the last one we have are conditional values. We don't use these very often, but an example would be a female versus a male pelvis. So if you want to do a conditional value of, if it's a female, then you want to comment on the ovaries and the uterus and the fallopian tubes or anything else that would be different in a female than in a male, and vice versa. The assignment of templates. So if you don't make any selections here, the template will be available for all modalities, all procedure codes, and all users. The way to edit it is to right click kind of into the dead space, and then you can start putting values in that will limit when the radiologist sees this or who sees it. So you can add modality types. You can just have something for a modality type, which would be maybe the verbiage of the CT scanner used was a GE Lightspeed, blah, blah, blah. And that you'd want in every template that they're reading a CT on. So then you could do that then for the entire modality type. Procedures, you can do it for a specific procedure as well. And here you can do it for a specific user. So to copy a template, so maybe you get a new radiologist in and they want all of Dr. Smith's templates. All you would have to do is go into the templates that belong to Dr. Smith, right click and edit, and add that new radiologist in, and that will belong to him as well. Now on this one, we can have kind of normals built in with the options to voice over the fields if something is not normal. Okay, so here we have it at every level, because you want to not have one big open paragraph that they would have to, when they start dictating over, is going to kind of fill the whole format. If you do it as individual for each level, you have a better kind of option of having the report more structured. Okay, here you can see that in the technique, none of the technique is within brackets because I just want them to always be part of my lumbar spine without contrast. And then I can say that sagittal and coronal reformant images were also acquired. And here I have just an open bracket if they want to add anything more to it. But skipping an open bracket still lets you be able to sign the report. So it's not a required field and they don't have to put any text in there if they don't want to. Macros, as I said earlier in the presentation, are just a blurb of text. So the only thing that's really different is that the practice is also involved in these macros where it's not in the templates. So here we have an example of this report was called to, and this field is pulling from the ordering referring physician. And this will give us the date and time. Okay, and you have the option when you do the time of 12-hour clock or 24-hour. So from the radiologist screen, they can also create their own macros and templates. So what they're doing is just highlighting that, right-clicking, and saving it as a macro. Because we're going to be able to use this for a negative extremity, regardless of what the procedure is, or really for that matter, the modality as well. Okay, and then they can save that. Now we're going to show you how to do an entire template. So if I right click and create template from, then you see all the fields that came up that we saw earlier on the base template. Okay, so we've got the base template. We use that. I added additional information specific to a CT left lower leg. So here, when this is saved, we're just going to save that for the lower leg. Because the radiologist was logged in at the time, AKA me, it automatically assigned it to the procedure that I had open and to me. Okay. Little caveat to that is no matter who is doing the template, you have an option to save it to your dictionary. Next to that dictionary is a little drop down. So the spell check, you can add it to global as well. So for you, those of you that do templates for your radiologist, if you add it to the global spell checker, it won't come for anybody as a spell check and they won't have to add it themselves. Okay, and then I included here our navigation commands that I have a printout of. If anybody needs, they can email me or you can get it off these slides. So we have a couple different pages of wonderful things that they can use. Usually they use about probably 5 to 6 commands, and that's about it. But just make sure that what they're saying in the words are proper compared to other systems because there's different verbiage for different voice recognition systems. So I know that that was a lot of information in a short period of time. But do we have any questions? I'm going to turn off the recording so we can feel free to ask questions.